After releasing that footage, Claire is teaming up with Sir Ed Davey to demand systemic change. Good morning to both of you, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks for joining. Claire, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for sharing that with us. Ed, we're going to start with you. You've become almost the unofficial sort of voice of carers, because it's been your whole life, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. My dad died when I was 4, so my mum became terminally ill with cancer. My brothers and I looked after her at home, and that for 3 years she was really confined to the bed in a wheelchair, and there was full-on caring with painkillers and everything. And then my brothers and my nana looked after me afterwards, my grandparents. And then after my nana looked after me, I looked after her a bit and looked after making sure she got all the right things in a sheltered home and then in a care home, and brought her very close to me so I could visit her regularly. And then my wife and I had our lovely first child, John.
Yeah.
But he turned out to have a brain problem, which means he can't walk or talk and really struggles. And so he needs 24/7 care.
Yeah.
And I was getting up this morning.
So this is, I mean, so you know this world, you know this industry, you're emotionally invested in this. Let's talk a little bit about the Care Quality Commission. So they said the ratings are untrustworthy. Just to strip it right back, what exactly is the Care Quality Commission supposed to do? What are its powers? How does it regulate? How does it legislate?
Well, it doesn't look after the family carers like that I've done most of my life. It looks after the care homes and regulates them and goes and inspects them. But many of us have worried for some time that it's too much of a tick-box exercise. It's not really getting to the heart of the challenges. Now, there's some really good care homes out there, let's be really clear, some really good carers. But sometimes when it doesn't go right, it doesn't get uncovered quickly, as in Claire's case with her mum, Anne. And I think it's about getting the Care Quality Commission in the right place, and hopefully the new head, Julian Hartley, will do that. But also, it's about making sure we improve the quality of carers to make sure that all of them are really good and we root out the bad apples.
So before we speak to Claire, what do you think, how does that change come about? And why has it got into the state it's in the first place?
Because we've never really valued care or carers. We don't treat family carers properly and don't give them support when they're struggling, and we don't value care workers. So we register nurses and we register midwives. We don't register care workers. You can go into a care home and look after a vulnerable person, someone with disabilities, an adult with learning disabilities, or an elderly person with dementia, and you don't have to have any qualifications, or you're not registered.
Seems crazy.
And I think that's wrong. And
it devalues the role.
It devalues, exactly. We don't pay them enough, by the way, and we don't accredit them enough, and we don't make sure it's a really well-qualified profession. And I think that undersells care workers. I think they're some of the most amazing people in our world, actually, doing an incredibly tough job. And I think, I'm a hands-on carer at home, and I go into care homes in my constituency, and I see how tough it is. And, you're dealing with lots of stuff, and you're dealing with very personal matters, right?
Yeah.
You need to have human touch as well. So, I got my son this morning, just after 6, and the first thing I do with him is I have a conversation with him.
Aww.
And although he can't talk very much, and I'm trying to get him talking, so he has, for example, this sort of homemade fluffy toy, which is a head of a cow, called Mooey, surprisingly enough.
Mooey.
And one of the conversations I have every morning with him is about Mooey. And I ask him what Mooey's been doing, and he says he's been eating green grass, and get him to say those G's, green grass.
Yeah.
And then I say, I hope you don't mind, I say, well, he's probably farting a lot.
Yeah.
And John's a 17-year-old boy, and he thinks that's funny. And then, we have a little... It just warms him up, and it's that relationship. And I think when you're caring, obviously for a loved one, he's obviously my son.
Yeah.
But if you're caring for anyone, you need to have that personal touch, and you need to have that friendly banter. And then you can do all the difficult stuff, because real caring actually is a privilege. The relationship I had with my mum was fantastic, and I value the time I had with her, as well as, being very honest, there's some pretty tough parts of the world.
Of course.
Well, let's turn this conversation to you, Claire, and your experience of the care system. Obviously, when we've got to put a loved one into the care, it's a massive decision. And I know you've been a carer for 27 years, so you know the system. Your brother researched it. You didn't take this lightly, did you?
No, definitely.
It was a very tough decision. Tell us about that decision and the process of that.
We decided to look at care homes. Mum was struggling at home. It was fairly unsafe for her to be at home, even though our stepfather was great. He was struggling. So we thought we'd just have a look at care homes, and I tried to use my experience to find somewhere that was going to give her everything that she needed. I wasn't worried about all the bells and whistles that came with it, you know, how you get in care homes now. It was the quality of care. So I did all the research. I looked at CQC reports. I got my brother to ask certain questions when he viewed the home that you wouldn't normally ask, but just to get an idea, and that's how we chose the home that we did.
So you took your time, you found the right home, she went in, and at first you thought everything was great.
Yeah, fantastic. I thought, great, lovely home, seemed to give everything we wanted, and it deteriorated, so...
So tell us about that deterioration and at the point of where you thought, actually, something's not quite right here. What was the first moment?
The first moment we chose, or we realised that there was something really not right, was when my brother found a male carer in her room on the floor, and our mum was absolutely terrified.
What, he was sitting on the floor?
Yeah, and he's left the room fairly quickly. So, but we'd already had problems, which we'd gone to the authorities for. We'd gone to the council, and a safeguarding investigation was put in. And this was just the icing on the cake. We weren't getting any honest answers from the home. They were hiding, denying and lying about things, and...
It's kind of like a gut feeling, isn't it? That
we
you
just
feel
knew.
Inside that something's not right.
Yeah, we just knew there was
That eats you up as well, doesn't it? You know,
Yeah.
so you must that's taking up every single moment of your day, isn't it? Not knowing, feeling just that gut that your mum's got. So is that what prompted you to put the camera in?
Yes, and it was COVID times. So...
It's almost like a military operation. Well done, you, for doing that. So so you're able to just you put it in a bookshelf or something?
It looked like an alarm clock. My brother's really good with stuff like that, so he installed it, and it looked and worked as an alarm clock.
I mean, the terrifying footage you're getting back from that. You must have. What did you do after that then?
Because we couldn't get onto their Wi-Fi network, we had to have SD cards. So my brother would go in, get the footage, upload it, so I could view it.
But it's hours of footage, isn't it?
24 hours a day.
It takes a long time to view the footage.
Yeah.
And how long did it take before you noticed something untoward?
Mum was actually out of the care home because they'd locked down with COVID, and we'd been searching and searching for somewhere else to take her, and even down to a Premier Inn, and I'd look after her there. But we got her out and settled her, and then I continued looking at the last lot of footage while I was caring for my mum, and that's when I discovered everything that was going on.
It must have been absolutely heartbreaking. I can't imagine seeing that being happening to my mum.
Yeah.
It broke my heart, and I will never forget it.
How common is this in care homes? Because I know there was some footage of kind carers as well. There was loads of footage of kind carers who did lovely things as well. But how common is this in care homes?
I don't think we know, is the truth. Which is why we need to get the Care Quality Commission doing its job better. But also, Clare's idea with Anne's Law, named after her mum, to have a registration of carers, so we can just improve the overall quality and make sure people have that, not only not abusing the people they're looking after, because that's the baseline, right? You're not abusing, but actually giving really quality care that you would give to your loved one. You know, I worry about this a lot because, you know, I'm an old dad, my son's 17, I'm not going to be on this planet all the time, so who's going to look after him? And no one's going to hold him and look after him like my wife and I do. But I'm assuming he'll be in a care home for quite a bit of his time as someone with learning disabilities and through to his old age. Yeah. And I won't be there to go and monitor them. Yeah. And I have to say, it's my room 101. I worry about it the whole time. And so I couldn't be more committed to improving quality of care for the whole of our country and for the millions of others who are like me, who have their loved ones in a care home.
What exactly would Anne's Law do? What would you want it to do?
Well, there's a number of parts of it, and you probably talked about it. It was your idea, but I think the key one is the registration.
Yes, definitely.
I think that's important.
Yeah. I think having a registration is important, and it also recognises the good carers.
Yeah.
And makes them, you know, are looked at as professional, not just unprofessional. But also having people working off the same page, so the police have the relevant training and the understanding, and also that the providers themselves have accountability to what goes on in their homes is really important.
You did have footage that you took to the police. What was done in that situation?
Very little. The only person who received anything was the cleaner, who got a community resolution order. 2 resigned and 2 were sacked, and 1 member of staff was retrained.
Right.
I think Claire's been quite modest. She's been really not just brave and putting forward this idea, which, you know, I am and others are championing, but Claire, you've been a carer a lot of your life as well, working in care homes. So she does know what she's talking about.
Yeah, 27 years, isn't it?
It's not just your experience with your mum, it's your own personal experience. You know what needs to be done.
Yeah, I see it from both sides. So.
Ed, just going forward, this presumably is an issue that, you know, has cross-party support, I would sincerely hope. And it's far too important to be a political football. What, big picture, how does this get sorted? Is it the join up between... The getting rid of that disconnect between the NHS and care homes, and you know, where do you start with this?
It's a huge agenda.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think valuing the caring profession is the most important thing, whether it's Claire's idea of registration or paying them more. You know, we've argued that there should be a higher minimum wage for care workers. So you take the living wage and add £2 an hour extra, because, you know, I think as a society we should value the job of carers and what they do when they're giving themselves to look after our loved ones. We should value that more. Yeah. And that's going to cost money. Yes, of course it's going to cost some money, but that is part of how we take this forward.
Well, listen, a spokesperson for Reigate Grange care home did say the behaviour of the individuals involved in Mrs King's care 3 years ago was reprehensible. I can't say
That's right, but reprehensible. Yeah.
Yeah, OK, you just said it. And does not reflect our high standards. We have since implemented significant reforms to ensure that families and care providers alike are protected from the actions of rogue individuals.
Thank you so much for coming in, both of you. Thanks for sharing your story. I imagine, you know, there's countless people that are worried about their loved ones. And I think you're probably, you know, what you're doing, pushing it forward, will hopefully abate that. And thank you so much.
I really appreciate it.
Best wishes and good luck for pushing it through. All right.
Cheers.
Thank you. If you're affected by anything we've discussed, you can head to the Free This Morning app. You can find help. Thank you so much for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every single day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you in the morning.